Welcome to Movie CC Recap. Today, I'll show you American sci-fi adventure film from 2010 titled Repo Men. Spoilers ahead. Stay alert and be careful. The movie begins with an introduction to technological advancements in the future. Today, it is possible to transplant artificial organs on humans called artiforgs. These artiforgs are so expensive that it is even difficult for a layperson to afford them. For this purpose, a company called Union sells these artificial organs on loan to people. When people don't pay back the loan on time, repo men forcefully take out the organs. People die due to this forcible repossession. In this scene, we see a repo man named Remy. He is a professional in his field. Remy has a tattoo on his neck, which we notice. This is a tattoo of a repo man. In the film, all repo men had the identical tattoo. Remy walks inside a house where he has set his sights on a boy. Remy was performing his job when a friend of that boy came and held him at bay with the pan. Remy shoots the girl with his special gun, and she collapses. Remy wraps his uniform with plastic to keep it clean. He plugs on headphones to listen to music. He then begins his duty. He uses his medical tool to cut his body. Later, he washes and removes the artiforgs off his body. He put them in a plastic bag and zips it up. The following day, we notice that Remy generally starts his day with his family. He goes to work after dropping his son off at school, where he abandons his clients to die after recovering artiforgs from them. Later, he goes to the union office, where he has his own office, where his boss was giving a speech to persuade his clients to transplant artiforgs. Along with that, he said that if they were unable to repay the money, the repo man would remove their artiforgs. He collects people's signatures with his sweet words without informing them of the real truth. While passing through this area, Remy enters a room where he scans his retrieved artiforgs. Clients are scared of him. We later notice Jake, Remy's best friend. He also works as a repo man with him. Here we know that they were soldiers in the army before. They were working in the union company as working men. They believe it is the perfect workplace for their skills. It makes no difference to them that people are dying as a result of it. They were just focused with their jobs and had a good time on their missions. We can see them harassing each other in the current scene. They were making fun of each other. Their boss thought they were immature. Later, both of them visit Remy's wife's shop. She was unhappy because of Remy's profession. According to her, Remy's child will suffer if he works as a repo man. She tells her husband to ask his boss to shift his job to the salesperson department. They go outside after the argument. Jake explains Remy in the car that he will continue to work as a repo man because they are only capable of doing so. He tells him not to worry his wife, but Remy understands her situation, what she wants and why. They go to a bar later in the evening. Remy notices a singer here. Remy has a huge crush on her. A few days later, Remy has planned a party at his home and it's a holiday. Jake informs Remy that they should complete a mission, but Remy denies because he is at his house. Jake tries to convince him by telling that they would have a large sum of money at the end. They are now target on the man in his car on the street. While doing this, Remy's wife and son watch him. She became enraged and decided to leave his home. On the way, she asks questions whether he must pick between his family and his job. Remy becomes upset and tells Jake that he will discuss this with his boss. They were on their way somewhere when Jake's scanner found a nest nearby. Many union clients were hiding in that nest. They have not yet paid back. Jake and Remy step out of the car, ready with their weapons. They enter the nest and start to tease the residents with their teasers, as much as they possibly can. They did it smoothly at first, but later on, people began to fight with repo men Jake and Remy. Jake fights and uses his punch to control people. Remy, on the other hand, was attacked by two men. He has a hand-to-hand fight with them at first, then stabs them with his knife and runs to find Jake. Jake went back up against a fighter who was more powerful than him. Soon Rhea arrives, hits him in the head, and knocks him down. Jake rags and says he doesn't need his support here. We later see them in the union's office. They have plenty of artiforgs and two jam scanners that jam the scanners of repo men. With the help of these scanners, the repo men know about their surroundings. Impressed with their performance, their boss offers them a promotion. Remy asks his boss for the transfer to the sales department. Jake intrudes and says that they'll think about this offer. Jake leaves from there to take Remy. He elucidates to him that they're not doing anything wrong, but according to the rules. Rules are the most important. Later on, he leaves Remy in front of a house where he has to target a singer. He was a big fan of this singer. Instead of killing him, Remy gives him enough time to complete his song. Remy takes his completed song and promised that he will deliver it to a musical company. Later on, he turns on his machine. As he starts to shock this man, he gets shocked before and thrown away with this electric shock. After many days, he wakes up on the bed of a hospital. He witnesses his boss and Jake. His boss and Jake tell him that he was shocked because of the fault in the device. Later on, they inform High and important news that his heart is replaced with an artificial artiforg. While walking in the hall, he disconnects his machines. He could walk only a few steps after doing this. He knows that he couldn't survive without the mechanical transplant. For this, he accepts his boss's offer. At night, when he goes to his house, his wife pulls him out. According to her, he has chosen job upon his family. That's why he has to live with his job. Later on, he goes to Jake's house. He offers him a drink. Remy says that he has to take some rest. After some days, when Remy feels better, he goes at his job. His colleagues collectively arranged a party for him. Later on, he takes a case because he thinks that he could do this now. As he goes to grab him at his house, he couldn't control him. He feels tired and his heartbeat grows faster. After thanking the man, when he starts his task, his hands start to shake. He couldn't complete his mission. Later on, he comes to a bar where other repo men were there. He tells them that he is leaving this job. He leaves after informing. He sits outside his house as it was the last solution to convince his family. He hugs his son and goes to talk with his wife. She gives him notice from the union for the payment of his heart. The next morning, he goes to his office. He asks his boss for another job. He has done so much for this company. He gets a job in the sales department. He has to convince people for taking artiforges like his boss. But he was a kind-hearted person. That's why he informs them that if they don't repay, they could be killed. They become afraid and many people don't buy artiforges. Remy was also not getting any amount. Remy's friend Jake takes him to a nest where many people who haven't paid for artiforges were there. He teases two people for Remy and asks him that he'll not come without taking artiforges back, as you don't have any other way than coming back to this job. As Remy starts his task, a man injures him. During this, he meets the singer with he met at the bar that Remy liked at the start of the movie. Remy feels that she is a drug addict and was still intoxicated. He feels bad for her and takes her into a hotel. In the morning, when Remy scans the body of the singer, whose name is Beth, she has taken many artiforges in her body. The reclaim time has come. It means if she doesn't pay, her artiforges would bring out. The singer will die like this. Finally, Beth wakes up and she punches Remy. She thinks that Remy is here to kill her. When Remy tells his situation, she relaxes. Remy plans something and goes into his office secretly. He was about to clear the accounts of Beth over reaching there, as he has taken plenty of artiforges in her body. He only clears the payment of her single artiforge. Jake comes and Remy, after seeing him, gives his gun. He goes back to his house. After entering secretly, he loves his son. He comes back to Beth and asks her to escape. Both go into a haunted area of a city. Remy burns his car. They were in an abandoned house. In the next scene, we watch the union office again. Remy's friend Jake was assigned the case of Remy. He refuses to take this. His case was given to another repo man. On the other side, Remy and Beth were arranging the old house with broken materials. Beth gives a typewriter to Remy that she finds from the trash. Remy uses it to write his story. Here we notice the ears of Beth are too made of artiforge. It means her ears are artificial, and she could hear that Remy couldn't. Beth feels that someone is coming into their house. Remy doesn't feel, and she attaches her artiforges with his ears. We notice that he is the repo man who worked with Remy and is assigned to kill Remy. They plan to escape from the repo man. There was a big hole in the floor. They cover the hole with a bed sheet. Beth hides behind the door. Remy sits on the table before the typewriter to pretend that he knows nothing about someone is chasing him. The repo man comes. As he watches Remy, he brings out his weapons and comes to him. He couldn't feel the hole in the floor and falls into it. As Beth moves to see him, the floor breaks from there, and Beth falls too. As that man puts his teaser gun to tease Beth, Remy throws a typewriter on his head, and he dies. They were running by taking a car. We notice that Beth has an injury on her knee. Her knee was also an artiforge. Remy offers her help. She brings out some tools and tells him that she could repair it. They go to the union's office. On entering there, Remy wears the costume of a man, so no one could recognize him. Wearing the costume, he punches his boss at his office. He gives the tattoo of the neck of that repo man. He had come to kill him. He tells his boss that whoever would come to kill him, he'll do the same. He tells him that since he has disturbed the system, it has been transferred to headquarters. It means that all the debts are clear in headquarters from now. Remy comes out after hearing this. He says to Beth that they have to flee from this country as soon. On the other side, Remy's boss orders Jake to repo Remy. We notice Beth and Remy who reached the airport. During security checking, repo men were also there. As they scan Beth and Remy jams their scanner with the help of a jammed scanner. An officer notices the bled leg of Beth. As they bandage, repo men come. This time during scanning, they notice that they have artiforges and guards arrest them. But they both want to run away by any means. To rescue them, they fight with everything. Even with scissors, boards, and everything, they beat others. They fight and run away. He takes Beth on his lap and takes her to a place where illegal artiforges were transplanted. On coming here, a boy notices the knee of Beth and suggests changing her knee. He sends them to the girls, and a 10-year girl operates Beth. Jack too comes during this. They notice that Jake has repoed the first man. Jack elucidates to Remy to come back and they'll manage. We'll shift you to the sales department and would repay the money somehow. Remy refuses to go with Jake. As Remy refuses, a hand-to-hand fight starts between them. Initially, they fight equally. Later on, Jake throws Remy from a building to a steel bridge. Remy starts to laugh. He brings out a knife and stabs Jake's leg. Jake was about to kill Remy. Beth comes faints him. Beth runs to take Remy because, in this building, many repo men come and start to tease those who had to repay. Beth and Remy were running, and a woman comes to rescue them and hide them. As she notices the tattoo of Remy, she starts to beat him, but Remy shows his body that he has an artiforg in his body. Later on, when Remy and Beth run from the nest, they become upset to see the condition of the nest. Many people were killed. He says to Beth that they have only one way to stop this: to destroy the scanner system of the headquarters. Remy goes to his boss and threatens him and takes him to the headquarters. They shoot the guards. Remy enters by scanning the eyes of his boss. They shoot the CCTV cameras. They enter a lodge where many scientists were working on artiforgs. Scientists were busy. No one notices them. A scientist notices them and goes into a room hurriedly. Many repo men guards come there. They start to shoot them, but they escape and go into a room. In this shooting, 2 scientists were killed. Many guards chase them. They killed them and enter a room. They find a giant artiforg scanner. They have no option except to bring out their artiforgs and scan. While they were doing, Jake and his boss come. They notice that Remy was cutting Beth for taking artiforgs. Remy's boss orders Jake to repo Remy. Jake refuses and kills his boss with his knife. Later on, they injected Beth, by which she wakes up. They open a scanner with the help of an artiforg. With the help of an artiforg, they blast the scanner. They become happy to destroy the system. Now, all the clients were free. No one was to be killed. No one will repo now. In the last scene, we notice Remy, Jake, and Beth are enjoying on a beach. Jack and Remy had their tattoos removed, and Remy's son had his biography published. Jake, when teases Remy, he disappears suddenly. Remy finds him around. The scene shifts. We notice the machinery of the hospital. It is revealed to us when Jake comes into that nest to kill Remy. As Jake throws him from the building, he went into a coma. After that, we see Jake kidnapped his boss, breaking into the headquarters and destroying the scanner. It all was going in the brain of Remy. Jake has paid for the artiforg heart of Remy. Whatever was going in the mind of Remy, it was because of a new technology that has purchased by Jake. We know that Beth died too on that day. She was still present in his mind. He was happy with his memories. The movie ends here. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.